This is the Ramana Maharshi Satsang. Listen, reflect, and deeply meditate. Know yourself. Welcome. I'm Richard Clarke. I'm not a guru or a teacher. Ramana's teaching is deep and profound, and I want to share it. I'm reading from and commenting on the Ashtavakra Gita. Today, chapter 18, verses 5 through 8. In this chapter, Ashtavakra is saying of peace. Ashtavakra said, the self, which is absolute, effortless, timeless, immaculate, is without limits and at no distance from you. You are forever it. For those whose vision becomes unclouded, illusion evaporates and the self becomes known. All sorrow is instantly dispelled. Seeing everything is imagination, knowing the self is timelessly free, the sage lives as a child. Knowing himself as absolute, knowing existence and non-existence to be imagination only, what is there for the desireless one to learn, say, or do? Now let's break down these verses. Verse 18, or chapter 18, verse 5. The self, which is absolute, effortless, timeless, immaculate, is without limits and at no distance from you. You are forever it. This verse points directly to the truth of your nature. The self is not something to reach or attain. It is already what you are. There are no conditions or limits to the self, and no effort is needed to be it. You do not need time, practice, or refinement. The illusion of separation is the only thing that makes it seem otherwise. This verse is a direct invitation to recognize that you are not bound by the body, mind, or identity. Right now, without any change, you are already free. If you're seeking clarity, Ashtavakra challenges you to stop looking outside yourself. It is not about self-improvement, but about realizing what has always been true. The more you hold on to ideas of limitation, the further you seem from the truth. But in reality, there is no distance. Letting go of effort, striving, and identification with the mind reveals that you have never been separate from the self. 18:6. For those whose vision becomes unclouded, illusion evaporates and the self becomes known. All sorrow is instantly dispelled. Illusion does not need to be fought. It only needs to be seen through. When perception is no longer distorted by false ideas, the self is effortlessly clear. Sorrow exists only as long as the illusion of separation is believed. When the illusion dissolves, suffering ends immediately, not gradually. The self is never touched by suffering. It is only the mistaken identification with the unreal that creates distress. Seeing through illusion is not about acquiring knowledge, but about releasing the false. If sorrow or tension remains, it's a sign that illusion is still being held on to. This verse encourages you to question what is actually real. Are you mourning something that never was truly separate from you? Are you identifying with something that was never yours to begin with? The end of illusion is not a process. It is a moment of seeing clearly. Seeing everything is imagination, knowing the self is timelessly free. The sage lives as a child. This verse points to a radical shift in perception. Everything you take as solid and real, including your identity, your past, and the world, is nothing more than imagination, nothing more than a thought. This is not a philosophical concept, but a direct experience when illusion falls away. The one who knows the self as free is no longer burdened by the weight of imagined reality. Like a child, the sage is free of concern, effort, and attachment. The difference is that while a child is innocent by ignorance, the sage is innocent by knowledge. Ashtavakra invites you to let go of the seriousness with which you hold the world and yourself. The mind creates endless complexities, but freedom is found in simplicity. To live without the burden of false identity is not carelessness, it is true wisdom. The weight you carry is made of thoughts. What happens when you put them down? This is freedom. 18:8. Knowing himself is absolute, knowing existence and non-existence to me imagination only, what is there for the desireless one to learn, say, or do? The one who knows the truth of the self is beyond all concepts of being or not being. Existence and non-existence are just more ideas. The self is untouched by both. When all desires dissolve, what remains to be pursued? What need is there to speak, act, or seek knowledge? This verse points to a state beyond all movement of mind, a stillness in which nothing is lacking. This verse confronts the mind's tendencies to search endlessly. If you already are the self, what more is there to gain? The idea that something is missing belongs to illusion, ideas of separateness. Desire is born from the belief in incompleteness, but the recognition of the self ends all seeking. The mind may wonder, what then? But only because it cannot grasp what is beyond thought. The verses reveal that the self is already free, untouched by limitation or sorrow. Illusion creates the appearance of separation, but seeing through it dissolves suffering instantly. The sage lives without effort, knowing everything is imagination. When desires fall away, there is nothing more to seek, nothing to do, and nothing to know. Only the direct recognition that you are already complete. And now we have a video from Nome, Free from Difference.
One self exists. Indeed, is existence itself. Differences are born of imagination. Once differences are imagined, any number of causes can be supposed for them. But the causes are as illusory as the differentiation is. One existence, Brahman, infinite and eternal is, and is yourself. Sri Bhagavan reveals that it is only so long as the reality is not known as it is, and one assumes one's identity as an individual or ego entity, that such differences as Jagat Jiva Para, the universe, the individual, and the supreme, seem to be. Such differences derive their reality from where? Only from the perceiver of them. And since they are imagined, it is simply from the conceiver of them. According to the definition assumed for oneself, such differences appear. If the true nature of oneself is known as it is, differences are nowhere to be found. The differenceless state, which is really just the self as it is perfect fullness. It is replete with indestructible peace and uncaused happiness. If you are distinct, then God appears distinct from you, and likewise the world. By the world is meant the entire objectified field of experience, subtle and gross, from thought extending to formed objects. If you are distinct, individualized, then everything else is likewise. But what in truth are you? Abandoning any tendency to misidentify with the body, inquire deeply within as to what in truth you are. The Maharshi, Adi Shankaracharya, Ribhu, and others proclaim that yourself is of the nature of Satchidananda, being consciousness bliss, undifferentiated being consciousness. Similarly, the Upanishads declare the nature of the self be Brahman, Satyam Jnanam Anantam, the true, the knowledge, the infinite. Obviously, the body does not correspond to such definitions. So to discover what in truth you are, abandon the misidentification with the body. Differences do not declare themselves to be real. You have to say they are real. Otherwise, they are not. Similarly, the body does not declare itself to be I. Rather, one imagines, I am a body. But imagination does not make for fact. Being consciousness bliss, Satchidananda. What is your being? Find it, and you dwell in bliss. What is your consciousness? Find it, and the bliss that was never lost has been recovered. To discern your nature as consciousness. Discriminate the knower from the known. To discern what your being is, cease to define yourself in terms of what is objective to you. You cannot be a known or unknown object. That is, you cannot be a perception or a conception. what remains? What you truly are, you are always. So what are you changelessly? Certainly not a body, which has birth, change, and death. Likewise is it with the senses and with the thoughts constituting the mind. None of such things are always. What is always? Reality must always be real. The reality of the self is always such. Deeply inquire in this manner, in search of your actual being, your very existence. And you will find that which was previously misperceived as Jagat Jivapara, the universe, the individual, and the supreme. For there is only one existence. The Vedas declare all this is Brahman. What does it mean? It does not mean that there's an all, and it happens to be Brahman as well. It means Brahman alone is, and there's no such thing as all. All are only Brahman. That includes you. You are only Brahman. The nature of Brahman is the nature of the self. This one self alone exists eternally, infinite, boundaryless, homogeneous, immutable, perfectly full. It is as it is forever.
And now we will spend a few minutes and inquire within ourselves. You exist, and you know that you exist. Just notice this existence and inquire. If the self is already what I am, what is keeping me from recognizing it right now? What remains when I stop believing thoughts that create separation? How does my experience change when I stop taking the mind's stories seriously? What happens when I stop believing that I need to know, do, or become anything than what I am already? Am I? What do I take myself to be? And who am I when all of that is stripped away? What am I? Am I a body? Am I a mind? Am I an ego? Am I the consciousness that knows all of these? What is the nature of my existence? Right. Then let's close with a chant. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Peace, peace, peace.
The only thought we have to deal with is the first thought,
Yes.
I thought.
But
There,
what happens when there's no thought?
then is the silence and stillness that's indescribable. The end of experience.
And Ashtavakra says in these verses that the realization is not something that is gradual. It is just, kind of an immediate knowing. And when you know, you know.
That's right. You just be.
That's right.
Yeah. And I like where he said that something that the realized one like a child.
Yes.
I liked that too.
That's like when Ramana was asking Arunachala to take charge of him. It's like a child.
Yes. That's the kind of surrender I think that is even harder for Americans.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We stress individuality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ramana says to just let things be how they are, let them flow the way they flow.
Right. Yeah.
It seems like if we take much political identity in the US, that's kind of hard to do right now.
Yeah. Hard for me to say, let it be at this point.
Right, but that's what Ramana says, and he means it. That's the thing I learned watching and listening to Nome all those years is all this outrageous stuff that he says, he really means it.
Yeah.
The only thing that holds us away are the ideas that we hold on to.
Just the practice, the self-attention, attending, inquiring the best we can.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything will be taken care of.
Mm-hmm. And keeping it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I'll send an email to your friend after this session and maybe we'll see him next week.
Wonderful. Yeah, Bruce, he's a very nice guy, lives in Montreal.
Okay.
Okay, wonderful. So good to be together again.
Very good.
Very
Namaste.
good.
And we'll see
Thank
you
you.
next week.
Namaste.